Hello, welcome back to Galactic Reviews. And recently Zach has read the comic book Cyberfrog Bloodhoney, and I read it a while ago, so we're gonna give our thoughts about it, I guess.
Yep.
Review it and stuff.
And
So,
stuff. I think that's my
and
favorite. And stuff.
we'll review it and probably talk about stuff that has nothing to do with it, but we'll review it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true. That's probably what will happen.
I haven't read it in about 4 months, was the last time I read it, but I've been reading a whole bunch. I don't know when the last time I gave it to you was.
It's been a it's been a bit.
It's been a bit, but I have been reading a whole bunch of the other Cyberpunk materials, and I will say that does help.
Give more story to it. Or
Uh,
more
the '90s stuff more so gives like background of where like these characters like came from, kind of like why
yeah,
he's sort
because
of bringing
like
them back and stuff. But
blood
it
blood and
really,
yeah, blood and honey, it's like a synopsis, kind of.
yeah, it's essentially starts out as like a synopsis of the '90s stuff, and then starting off on this new sort of story arc. It's good, but it needed more in it, in my opinion.
It needed something. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what that something
yeah.
would be
Yeah, it feels like it's missing something, but
because like we said, it feels more like a synopsis through the whole thing. You don't get to understand any of these characters.
I mean you kind
Um,
of do with
you
Cyberfrog
kind
and
of do.
Salamandroid and the fighting,
Well, you
but
you more so understand Cyberfrog, but not really Salamandro. You
Salamandro,
just Salamandro, Sal. I'm just gonna call him Sal.
Salamandroid, yeah,
No, I'm just calling Sal.
Yeah.
That's what his name is. All you get about him, he's huge, he's a salamander, and he's the protector of his brother, and that's it. You get nothing else. It's a little disappointing. He just seems very, I don't want to say underused, but I don't know. It's you don't get to see any of their abilities, what they do. You just get to they get sent to the planet, they get made, they get given a mission, and then it's a brief explanation of what they've been doing, and then the invasion happens, and then it's the end.
And
It's very
Cyberfrog wakes up in the
quick.
middle of it,
Yeah,
or
it's
like,
very quick
yeah.
succession.
I have read all the other stuff that's come before and after this issue, so I think it does a good job of like setting up a new reader, but
Yes.
but it doesn't do a great job of getting a new reader invested.
Not
Not
really.
completely. You can
It
get
it
semi
it
invested if
it's
you've like
like
read the
you're
90s.
interested.
Like,
It's like I'm interested in it. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. I think it's really interesting. It's cool. Yes, I want to read the other ones, but at the same time, it's mostly to understand and fill in gaps
yeah,
that I'm like confused on still. Not to like because I like it, I guess.
yeah,
It's mostly to give me more understanding of the situations, I suppose.
yeah. Well, I've got them, so they'll probably be the next thing I give you. But you have like the next couple ones are the Diary of Heather Swain, which is like just like a 1.5 kind of going over Heather's story arc, kind of going over like Heather's story arc from when the invasion happened to when she meets him in Cyberfrog. You have the Salamandroid Death Sting, which goes from him in the first issue, Bloodhoney, to his appearance later on at the end of the second issue. You have the you then also have the Cyberfrog Wrecked Planet, which follows after Bloodhoney. Um, and kind of continues the story. You also have this other book, Heartsick Horror, which kind of has like little stories about Heather Swain and Cyberfrog in between the first and second issue. But yeah, the '90s stuff isn't really necessary. A lot of the stuff that's in the '90s, he is more so paying homage to it than going by it. For this issue, I'd probably give it a 6. Like it does a good job in getting the reader invested. Actually, no, I might give it a 7 because of the artwork is fantastic.
Yes, the art, that is one thing I did enjoy. The artwork in this is just phenomenal. Both it's just colored and non-colored. Both really bring it in,
Yeah.
do a great job.
And the story isn't bad, but it's just the starting off point. It's trying to do a lot with the very little it has, and it's good, but it is missing something. I don't know quite what.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, because I haven't read the others. It just gives out a lot of information, but not enough to explain the overall purpose, I guess, of like what's happening, what's going on. Well, I suppose I can't say that because it does tell you what's happening and what's going on,
Yeah.
but it's just, I don't know, it's definitely building up to just
Hmm.
bring you into the story.
My guess is if like you're a new reader, you're not as invested in these characters, so
Oh
there's
yeah,
not that.
yeah,
And I guess I guess that might be something that's missing is like you're not that invested in these characters, so you don't have that sort of what's it called?
motivation,
Motivation
drive.
for them to succeed. You don't have that you don't care
Well,
for them as much.
yeah, it's like he goes out to meet the humans, helps the humans, and as he goes, he realizes just how much they hate him. But
Yeah,
you don't get to really see that interaction,
yeah,
really.
you're only told about it. Um
Like everything you're learning about these characters is like third hand.
and that becomes less so in the second comic book. There's less of a there's less of somebody telling you what goes on instead it's showing you what's going on. I think that is a problem, especially at the beginning, 8 to 10 pages where he's like going where the Kajel Sin, I think is her name, the mothership
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
essentially going through like why Cyberfrog is the way he is.
And then it's like you have Cyberfrog and then you have Saul or Sal. Wow, I can't believe I
So
said Saul. Sal. And it's the personality difference, and you see more of Cyberfrog and not Sal. Dude,
yeah.
and they even made a joke of pretty much saying you wouldn't like him when he's angry, and yet we don't really understand that. Like,
Well, in the Salamandroid book, you do. You get to see him kind of give an outburst. And I mean,
I mean, I could,
you kind of do in the Cyberfrog book as well when he's like simply just destroying one
oh
of
well, yeah,
the
yeah, and he
colonnade
goes,
after
yeah,
another and it keeps going. So you kind of get to see him, but you don't really get to see him in full fury. I get what you're saying, but
yeah, yeah. It was kind of just a
like a lower tone
um
of what might have been his.
yeah, it was just like I was told to just take out these guys. I can take out these guys, no
Yeah,
problem,
yeah,
type of situation. So you just don't get that attached to these characters. You don't get an understanding of these characters. Like with Heather at the end, you get introduced to her daughter. Um, and it's like, how long has he been unconscious for, and all that. A whole bunch of questions and not enough time to explain them in a,
yeah, yeah. And that's where I think the other comic books that he did to like kind of go along with this kind of help out in that aspect because he is limited in pages to what he can and can't do.
yes. And I
So
understand that. So, yeah, I mean, for how many pages he was given,
yeah,
um, I think it was good.
yeah, it's a good start off point, and the artwork is fantastic. It's just I wouldn't agree that it's enough to get you invested in wanting more, but it's enough to get you interested into seeing what else comes about. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I would give this definitely a 6 out of 10. It was good, but it just doesn't give enough information to draw you into the story and
yeah,
everything.
yeah. I'll probably stick with my 7, but the story does get better, so it will improve. So
I believe it. I believe
yeah,
it. It's just like you said, it's just a whole bunch and not enough at the same time.
yeah.
It floods you with information and then gives you no information, which I think is its biggest, I don't want to say, yeah, downfall. Yeah, no, I would say downfall.
He tries his best to like give you the information that he thinks you'll need to be invested in it. And in some
Yes.
cases that's not enough. In some cases it's more than enough, but it
Yes.
varies depending on where it is.
Yes, no, that's true. That is correct. But definitely interesting storyline, much better than other things I've read. So,
Yeah, like I saw.
yeah, like that. We don't talk about that though.
This is way better than I saw.
We don't
It's
talk
actually
about
got
ISOM.
because it's actually got a story.
It's got a story. It just needs more information to give that story purpose.
Yep. Well, and it does get there.
I'm sure. I'm sure. With the more volume and everything it has.
Yeah, and at some point, from what he said, is he's gonna when he creates. I think I don't know if he said he's gonna do 4 issues, and that's gonna be like the main arc, and then he's gonna create like an omnibus that's gonna have the first issue all the way up to the last issue, and kind of all the ancillary medium or ancillary comics in between. I don't know if that's the case or if that's what some. I believe that's something that along the lines of what he said, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I
I
know
mean,
he said something about creating like an I'm not gonna say an omnibus, but like a trade paperback with all of the stuff in between for like the arc. So, which that'd be cool.
but yeah, no, that would be cool. It would give a lot.
Yeah, it'd be an easier way for people to like actually go and catch up on it instead of having to go and buy like a whole bunch of single issues
Yeah,
further
that's
down
for
the
sure.
line. So,
Because yeah, that's probably the biggest problem is you just have to buy all these single issues.
do you want me to show you the other issues?
Sure.
You
Well,
can
which
do
ones would you recommend um kind of read
um
next? Or does it really not matter?
it it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
I don't think because I read the first one and then I immediately after I gave it to you, I think I immediately read the second one. But I do think most of the other stuff, I would say, since most of it happens in between the first and second one, it kind of sets up for the second one. It might be good to read all that before we get to the third one. And from what I've heard from him, there's the one that happens in between 2 and 3 that probably also needs to be read as well because that'll be setting up for the third one. So that way he immediately goes right in to the action in the third one.
Okay. How many are there?
I know he said 4, but I also know he's doing this the in betweener between 2 and 3, and then another Salamandroid comic, and then he's doing another one on another character that's also in that universe called Lynx. I know there's going to be a fourth one, so I have no idea. He honestly could do anything
All right. That's
because
good. That's exciting.
the guy is a creative because he's done he did the Jeff Johns stuff for um Green Lantern, sort of
Oh,
helped
cool.
create a whole bunch of that stuff. So like
Yeah, yeah.
Atrocitus, the Red Lanterns, he created all the symbols for all the other lanterns. He helped Jeff Johns sort of come up with the idea of Blackest Night. He didn't get to write it or he didn't get to draw it because he was told he either could work on Blackest Night or the Flash Rebirth, and he chose Flash Rebirth.
Still cool.
Yeah, no, he's got quite a repertoire.
That's good.
Yeah.
Exciting to see what else can be done.
So this is the second issue. I don't know if I can get it in the light because it's
It's
a
um
yeah, it doesn't look light.
no,
It's
I
not.
don't want to say holographic, but
It's
kind of like it. I
yeah,
can't think of the
it's foil. It's a
foil.
foil
That's the
cover.
word.
Yeah. So if I can get it in the light right. So yeah, no, this is not being fun to
Yeah,
me.
it's not gonna pick it
It
up.
looks better in person. Let me just say that.
I'm sure. I'll take your word for it.
I just don't have great lighting. So, but here, let me see. But yeah, this is the second one. Then there's this Salamandroid one, Death Sting. It's on the Sal
It's
character,
fun.
so
Yeah, it's fun that it's not focused just on one character.
yeah.
Um
No, it's not. This is the deleted scenes. So this is stuff he cut out from Cyberfrog 2. Yeah, I don't think it's I don't believe it's canon.
Necessary?
It's not necessary and it's not canon either. Um, Here's the Diary of Heather Swain. It's sort of a smaller, it's like a mini comic kind of thing. So,
Okay.
so and then
I
here's
will
the
admit I enjoy the art style and the premise
yeah,
of it all.
yeah, and this is the Heartsick Horror comic book. So,
It's
and
mostly like the when you get introduced to these characters and they're fighting and they introduce their villains,
yeah,
it it's so confusing because you would have thought that the villain they were fighting was a wasp or a bee. No, I think he was a
uh,
bee. Hold on.
yeah, Rumblebee. So,
Rumblebee. But
yeah,
aren't also the aliens that are coming to invade also bees?
they're wasps. They're alien
Those are
wasps called
wasps.
the Vispus.
So
Is
they're
what?
wasps that eat
Yes.
honey.
Yeah.
I think there are wasps that do that. I would have to look it up. Because I know there's wasps that hunt and kill bees, but I don't know if it's to steal their honey. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know my wasps
Yeah.
like that.
Why don't you know that?
Ah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'll have to figure that out.
So, yeah. Which one do you want to read first? The second one?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
If it just gives more information and kind of
It
fixes
does.
the.
It does.
Is it so? Does it continue where the first one left off?
Yeah.
Or,
It continues with the first one left off, if I'm remembering it correctly.
okay. So
Um,
when he finds finds Heather Swan.
yeah. Yeah. And so
Okay.
the Diary of Heather Swan continues off with Heather where she got left in the beginning of the first one. And
Okay.
it goes up to I think maybe a certain point. It kind of goes to a certain point and then skips all the way to the end of the end of the first one where you meet her. And then there's the Heartsick Horror one, which has two stories in it. One is like a story about the one is a story about like the stuff that just like happens in the second one, or like just
Mm,
a story that just happens to be in the same that would probably fit within the time frame of the second one. But the first
okay.
story happens like takes place like kind of sometime around this like after death of or no after the diary of Heather Swain and kind of continues talks more about her life after that diary and then goes all the way through to the for end of the first issue where we see her and more so in the second issue kind of explains her and Lily and Lily's father.
Yeah.
Then you have the Salamandroid testing, which continues from the where you left off with Sal in the first one, going all the
Where
way
he gets
to
carried off um by the wasps.
yeah.
Okay.
So basically from where you leave him off in the first one, all the way to the where he shows back up, and it doesn't happen until the end of the second one. So
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I don't think that is a spoiler, but he does show back up.
I mean, I was expecting him to if he had his own comic book and there
Yeah,
was going to be more than one.
yeah. Well, the other guy that is also doing his second one is a guy by the I believe he's the guy that's doing his second Salamandroid comic is Dale Keown. I don't know if you know him.
No, not off the
So
top of my head.
okay, well then never mind. I know he worked at like Image creating this character named Pitt. I think
Hit from Kid Icarus,
you would say this is better than ISOM.
100% better than I saw him. It gives so much more information. Um,
Actually, characters and a story
I think that's the biggest
and
part of the whole thing. It
and
actually gives plot.
and artwork that feels good.
Yeah.
So
The only thing it doesn't give, like um, the same, ISOM does the same thing, is background to these characters and an understanding of how they become who they are.
I saw him didn't do that either.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think the only similarity between the
Yeah,
two,
you kind of get a background of Cyberfrog, but not a whole bunch
I mean, I think you get more of a background with Cyberfrog than you do with
with
ISOM.
ISOM. Yeah, you do definitely because you don't get any
Um,
background with ISOM.
I think that's the only similarity you can make between those two.
And even then, that's kind of a weak similarity.
100%. It is a weak similarity, but it is a similarity nonetheless. I mean, still fun, exciting. I think it's going to be good. Love the artwork. I can't say that enough. Such a fun art design. I don't know. I see this being the next big comic book I enjoy just sitting down to read
Hmm,
whenever I
okay.
get the chance to read.
Whenever he does create the sort of trade paperback thing, I will get one for you so you can read it whenever. Because I don't know if we'll ever get, considering how long it takes for you to read these comic books.
Yeah, it takes me forever. I don't really divide my time up that well. It's like my comic books I have that I went and bought. I have one sitting on my nightstand,
Mm.
and it's been sitting there for I think the same amount of time Cyberfrog has
Oh Lord.
been in my house, and I haven't even opened it.
I'm scared to ask what it is. Um,
Nothing you would know.
okay. So like an anime.
Yeah, kind of. Thank you all for joining us for this review and explanation, I suppose, of the first issue. What is it, the first issue? Technically, or not the
Technically,
first
it's
issue, or
Cyberfrog Bloodhoney. Technically it's the first issue.
all right
Technically.
then, the first issue of Cyberfrog. I'm excited to read the rest. Definitely. I mean, I don't know. Would you recommend if you do see Cyberfrog to get the first and the second one to read them back to back to have more understanding of this?
Yeah, yeah, because it kind of just flows right into the second one very easily.
Very easily. Okay.
Yeah,
Because like we said, it's good, but it's not enough to
yeah.
um really give you an understanding of the situation and these characters. So join us next time for our comic book reviews where we go over the second one, hopefully. That's
Sometime
always
this
the
year.
hope. Oh, it'll be, what month is it? October
Uh,
tomorrow?
it's October tomorrow, yeah.
Yep. So by December.
If we don't do it by December, I swear.